Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Tikis with Ray, and I'm on my Tiki road trip across America, which I do every year, and traveling across the country, I have to stop at Max's South Seas because
we are across the country.
You are literally across the country from me, and I'll tell you what, I mean, anyone, if you have not been to Max's, you got to come here. You have to make it a destination. There is no place like this.
I can't tell people that because they'll just say, "Oh, he's biased." You know, it's his place. But when somebody like you says that,
yeah,
yeah,
listen to me.
More weight.
I'm telling you. I mean, I'm serious. This place is 2 floors, 3 tiki bars. You actually have a factory in the back that's making tiki mugs. Mm-hmm. And I think, are you still talking about doing the Airbnb upstairs, or?
Well, we were, but then the pandemic hit, and we don't have the money to do it. So maybe someday.
No problem.
It got approved by the city, but then we just ran out of money. So.
No, that's okay. But doesn't matter. I mean,
if we sell enough poo-poo platters, maybe we can do the Airbnb.
It'd be funny if you're like, yeah, you could stay in the Airbnb, Ray. I go up there, there's a sleeping bag and a pillow. Yeah, there you go.
Basically what it is, basically storage right now. So.
I would say at this point in time, this is one of the biggest tiki bars in America that's going on.
Yeah,
and
it might be the biggest, other than the Mai Kai, of course.
But the Mai Kai isn't open right now.
Yeah.
And one thing that's amazing about this bar, not only just the size of it, but just how many tikis you have. And I think it's safe to say you may have like the largest tiki collection I've ever that there is. And
that might be. I focused pretty heavily on it when I was collecting. In other words, it wasn't a lot of people. Mugs are the main thing, or maybe they're into salt and pepper shakers or whatever. They're. I really got into tikis.
Yeah.
And I commissioned a ton of tikis from people that like Bill Collins, the year 2018, I believe. Basically, he just made tikis for me all year. I commissioned a lot of tikis from different people. So.
And you actually. Well, we're going to go on a little tour of talk about some of the more important and prominent tikis that you have here, because there's just too many to go to, all of them. Yeah. And you're going to find out there isn't just like one tiki. You have like walls of tikis.
I just I had them all in storage, and I'm like, I got to get them all on display. So yeah, we ended up filling like whole walls with tikis side by side. And,
it's
booth partitions are like 7 tiki carvings in a row to partition the 2 booths from each other, things like that.
I can't wait to see them all. And so, Mark, actually, you reached out to me, and I appreciate you reaching out to me. Hey, would you be up for doing some filming at Max's? Because I have some tikis. It's like, yeah, I think that would be a great idea. What'd you say, tikis per inch or something like that?
Tikis per square inch, tipsy.
Well, this...
I think we have a lot of square inches here. This is a big place, but I bet we have the tipsy record, but who can say for sure?
I'm going to go ahead and say that I think you already have it.
I wouldn't be surprised, but we'd need an independent third party to verify that somehow.
All right, we need
how you do it,
like Sven Kirsten or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah.
But so what we're going to do is we're going to walk around, and you're going to talk to them and tell the people what some of your favorite tikis are and what they're about, and we'll go from there.
All right,
let's go.
Okay, so here we are in the entryway of Max. This is what customers see when they walk in for the first time. And I put some of the best tikis in my collection in this entryway just because I wanted people to be wowed as soon as they walked in. So here in the 4 corners here, we have 4 Trader Vic's vintage tikis that I got from Jordan Rychek in the Jordan Rychek sale that happened in 2017. These are all from the St. Louis location. 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, or whatever you want to call them. But they're just amazingly cool old vintage Marquesan tikis from a restaurant that no longer exists. This Marquesan here, I found walking down the sidewalk in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I just happened to look into an antique store, as I usually do when I pass an antique store, and I saw this in the window, and I went in and inquired the next day when they opened, and the old guy who was the owner told me that a soldier from World War II had it shipped back with him when he came back from World War II, and he got it in French Polynesia, and I think the shipping on it to ship it home from Arizona was more than I actually paid for the tiki, but it's just so cool. We actually based one of our mugs on that we produced in our ceramic studio. Here we have we have 3 large Gecko Tiki Poles. So, what's the definition of a tiki? Is it this? Is it a pole? Could it be flat on the back and mounted to the wall? I mean, I'm not really sure. So some of the stuff that I consider tikis, other people might consider tiki poles or tiki wall mountings. But anyway, these 3 Gecko things are really cool. And then on the walls, all over the place, I'll just focus on these here. But we have these black, what we call apartment complex tikis all over Max's. Because I had over 100 of them at one time. Well, I still have them. Now they're in here instead of in storage. But they're from an apartment complex in Playa del Rey, California, that was torn down, and I believe they literally threw them out and they were dumpster dived. So this is a tiki. This is Pele, carved by a guy named Guy Wilson who lives in Washington State. This was carved in 1975. And I'll send you, if you haven't seen it, I'll send you a picture of him actually carving this. John O posted that online, and I happened to see it. But Guy Wilson carved this in 1975, and then this tall one, and behind it, the same guy carved, even though they don't look alike at all. You wouldn't ever guess that it's the same person who carved both of these, but that one's made out of redwood, and I got that from Oceanic Arts. Oceanic Arts had it on their floor, and it wasn't for sale, and I badgered them, and finally they sold it to me. So here we have a moai from a guy named Ray Kiefer, or Tiki Ray. Good name, right? Lives in Phoenix area, and he also carved this one. And I've got another couple tikis from him scattered around the restaurant. Here's an even better example of Bill Collins. Bill Collins lives in Kauai, Hawaii. He's been carving for, I don't know, a long time, but he does this Marquesan style. That's all his tikis are Marquesan style, and his stuff is usually made out of monkey pod, but sometimes he does them out of koa wood. I think this is monkey pod, but it's just an amazing looking tiki. Well, here we have a giant tiki, but this is made out of foam. It's meant to look like rock. It's a guy in the Detroit area who does churches and schools and community centers, fountains for them, and I contacted him. I said, hey, can you make me a tiki fountain? And I sent him a bunch of images, and this is what he came up with, and he wouldn't let me see it while he was making it, so I didn't see it until it was installed. And thank God I like it, because if I didn't, I still would have had to have it here, because there was no going back at that point. So this whole wall here is filled with 30 carvings done by Gecko in Hawaii, and Gecko lives in Honolulu, and there's a community center there called the Ward Warehouse that a lot of children's groups and local theater productions and stuff would happen there. It was an important cultural center in Honolulu, and it was torn down. But Gecko was able to salvage some of the beams from the roof and carved them into these tikis. And he posted something on Instagram about it, and I contacted him and said, I want a bunch of those. I got this wall I got to fill. So it took him, I don't know, 8 months or so. It took him forever, but finally they arrived by semi-truck. And one of them, this red one on the end, got lost and didn't show up. And it's the tallest one of all of them, and that's the one that didn't show up. And so I contacted him, and he had pictures of him putting that on the semi-truck in Hawaii, and then it got unloaded onto a boat in Honolulu, and then it got shipped over to Long Beach, and then it got put onto a truck in Long Beach, and somehow it got left in the Long Beach shipping, the docks, the port, and they found it after a couple weeks. So they actually found it. I couldn't believe they found it. I thought it was gone forever. Here's another Bill Collins. Now, is that a tiki or is that a wall mount? I don't know. It's got a flat back, so it doesn't stand upright by itself, but I'm going to call that a tiki. Here's a really cool tiki. This is by a guy named, I actually talked to him about him already, Ray Kiefer. He lives in Arizona, and I just love everything about the color of the wood, the stain that he used, the detail. He just did a great job. And there's a war club, a really cool war club that I have in my warehouse. I it goes right in there and it sticks out to about here. And the problem is the servers are constantly walking, and somebody would have broken it or gotten hurt on that. So in the restaurant environment, we had to take the war club out, but just try to picture a cool big war club there. We got a lot of Bosco tikis here, a lot of them, but they're kind of hidden just because they blend into the whole color scheme of this place. So you have to look closely for Bosco carvings, but there's quite a few poles that I got from him. This is another one of those apartment complex tikis that I talked about earlier. Here's that wall of tikis that I mentioned earlier that separates the two seating areas. These were all done by a guy named Patrick Souza, who goes by OB Tiki, and he's in San Diego. So when we were building the space, we didn't plan anything for this area here, but I looked at it and it was a dead area with nothing between this, the handrail and the wall. So I decided let's fill it with plants and tiki carvings. And we got a Bill Collins here. This might be a Buzzy Park, but I'm not exactly sure who did these three. I think it's somebody from Texas, though. If that person is watching, I'm sorry if I forgot your name. I'm under a lot of pressure here because Ray Ray makes me nervous. So sorry, I can't think of it.
I don't need
you don't. I'm just kidding. So this tiki here with the googly eyes and the red hat, it's a moai. It was done by Vic Heads, who lives in Southern California. So these two here are some of my favorites in the whole restaurant. And again, are they tikis or are they wall mounts? I mean, they have a flat back, so they're meant to be against a wall or a pole, a post, but let's consider them tikis because they're wood carvings in the tiki style. And they came from the Harris Imperial Luau restaurant, which was in Pompano Beach, Florida, which I believe closed in somewhere around 1985. It's gone now, but there were 10 of them in the restaurant. I think 5 or 6 still exist, and I have 3 of them. I know there's a 4th one that I saw for sale, so there's at least one more out there somewhere. But we've got 3 of these really cool carvings here. This is our Whitco room. We call it the Atomic Lounge. If the restaurant looks like it's not open, it's because we're not open right now, so there's stuff lying around. Sorry about that. But so let's see. We got some Whitco tiki up there. Another one sitting in the corner over there, and just a bunch of wall carvings, all done by either Whitco or Ken Pleasant, who is grandson-in-law of William Westenhaver. Moving on, we have the outsides of we have 4 booths right here on this, what we call the platform, because it's up some stairs. And these are Tiki Poles taken from Konakai, Kansas City. And that restaurant was destroyed in a fire. So if you look, especially at the backs of them, I put the fire damage usually facing the back, but some of them have like some little fire damage because they were salvaged from the fire. Here you got another Bill Collins. It's another Konakai, Kansas City. So here, as I mentioned, I had somewhere around 100 of these apartment complex tikis from Playa del Rey, California, and this whole wall is just filled with them. This is the Konakai Philadelphia frigate bird that was taken. It's not necessarily a tiki, but it's like the signature piece that we have in the restaurant, so I had to highlight it. Here we have another wall of tikis. So I'll try to remember who all these artists are because there's several different artists represented here. We have Scott Eskridge in the very corner right here. He's from Southern Cal. This is an old Trader Vic's tiki. This is Vic Heads. This is Patrick Souza from OB Tiki in San Diego. This is Ray Kiefer from Arizona. This is another Vic Heads. This is Dave Hansen from the Chicago area. Or actually, no, I think he's Milwaukee area. Dave Hansen. This is another OB Tiki, another Vic Heads. This is a Trader Vic's Osaka, Japan. And then we have another Scott Eskridge here. So these 2 tikis here are really cool. They're from a guy named Bremont Frederick who lives in France. And I didn't like the color of them that much when I got them, although I love the carvings. And then Notch Gonzalez designed the second floor of Max's, which is where we are right now. And he also didn't love the color, so he decided to paint them. So Notch painted them brown. But Bremond Frederick is the one who carved those. Only tiki carver in France, as far as I know. Here we got a big tiki from Dustin Darrow, who lives in Ventura, California. He goes by Ven Tiki. And then this is another Vic Heads right here. This is an old Trader Vic's. I think it might be also a St. Louis, but I'd have to look that one up. That's a really cool tiki, though, Marquesan style. This is Trader Vic's location. I cannot remember off the top of my head. I gotta look that one up. This is the Detroit Trader Vic's, and it looks like it wasn't ever finished. The tiki carving wasn't finished. I don't know if it ever was in the actual restaurant or not, or maybe they had something that went up to here, so they didn't do the bottom part. I don't know. This is Trader Vic's Osaka, Japan. This is the Konakai, Kansas City. And then we got a Palmer House, Trader Vic's Palmer House, Chicago. In the corner there. So in this, what we call a diorama, like a museum diorama, we had this weird corner area that you can't really put a table in there because it's too compact, and so we decided just to make it a display case for some of my collection. And so a lot of it's Papua New Guinea. You see a lot of Papua New Guinea masks and Papua New Guinea carvings and statues. And then here in the corner here you have a Konakai Philadelphia panel that was on a post in the Konakai Philadelphia before that restaurant was torn down. And then one of my favorite tikis in the whole building, if you ask me what my favorite, this might be the one, I'm not sure, but it's Milan Guanco. It was probably carved in the 60s. It's just got a really unique look and a lot of detail.
Do you know how many tikis are in here?
I gotta count them. I do not know. If I had to guess, Bamboo Ben and I actually had a guessing game once where we tried to guess how many, but I don't think we ever actually counted. I bet there's like 110, 120 tikis in here.
Want to support the Tiki with Ray show and look cool doing it at the same time? Then head over to tikiwithray.com and buy yourself a Tiki with Ray shirt. They're only $20. Tony Canepa did the design and they're screen printed in America.